hard to see this team being better than what it is, which has been a great run, like you said, but they're going to have some real decisions to make this summer, both they and Giannis.
Hello, welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we're doing early on Wednesday morning after the Lakers beat the Timberwolves in a rock fight that I'd prefer never to speak of again. But most of America did not make it to the end of this game, and I congratulate you all. Joining us from New York City, where the Knicks are not looking so great after a Game 2 loss to the Pistons, is Tim Bontemps.
I thought Knicks Pistons was ugly, but it didn't have anything on Lakers Wolves. That was a rough watch.
Joining us from Oklahoma City, where he watched the Thunder go ahead of the Grizzlies 2-0 in a series that everybody can't wait to get over, including our guy, MacMahon.
Howdy, partners. I would say most prominently can't wait to get it over is probably the Grizzlies. I'm trying to figure out that like little flight tracker technology to make sure their plane actually goes to Memphis and not Cancun.
This was like, I think what was it? Was it 17 points? Was that the final?
That's 19.
I think it was 19.
Okay.
No, it was 19. 51 plus 19.
118.99.
They actually took a bucket away from the Grizzlies with 5 seconds left. They scored a basket. I don't know why they took it away, but they did.
Basket interference, they call it.
But the Grizzlies' average margin of defeat to the Thunder this year is like over 20. So technically, you could say
it's right around 19. It was. Oh no, actually, you're wrong. I'm wrong. My bad. You talk.
Anyway, you could argue
it was 18.8 in the regular season, then they got a 51-pointer in the game one.
You could argue that the Grizzlies made progress on this one.
Hey, they told us they would never play that bad again, and they almost sliced it in the third.
They almost got there.
They jumped over that very low bar. Shea's played terribly the first two games, and they're like sniffing the largest average margin, the largest margin of victory over 2 games in the history of the league. So that sort of, I don't know what else I can say about that. That's more sums up that series.
We don't need to talk about this series. It's a bad series.
Yes, let's move along.
Thunder will be well rested for the second round.
Moving along, right. Which is what I wanted to say about the fourth quarter of this Lakers Timberwolves game. All right, look. The Lakers won. They had to win. If they lost this game, they would have been in big trouble. They got done what they needed to get done. Thumbs up. Period. New paragraph. I'm not so sure they should still feel good about the way they're playing. Luka played a strong game overall, mostly because he just got to the free throw line and made his free throws. But the fourth quarter of this game was like watching bumper cars. It would be like if you were watching bumper cars, but there was referees out there blowing whistles on the bumper cars and stopping the bumper cars when you just wanted to get through the ride so you could get out of the bumper cars.
Just have the timer go off. We're just waiting for the timer to go off.
Dude, the fourth quarter score was 20-13.
And it felt like it was 8-5 because nobody could make a shot. Nobody could hold on to the ball. There were fouls everywhere. It was awful.
Luka and LeBron in the fourth quarter combined to go 3 of 13 with 3 turnovers. LeBron made a couple of defensive plays. The Lakers just in general played tougher, although JJ Redick was being driven crazy in this game. Like at one point he called a rage timeout and said 11 4-letter words because they lined up incorrectly on an inbounds play. Like, it's 1-1, but I just don't think anybody from the Lakers party can be really happy about the way things are going. But okay, they won. Luka did what he had to do. The other headline I would say from this game, Ant has just not been good in this series. You have to give the Lakers credit.
Hold on, you were talking about how great Ant was the other day.
Well, that was then. This is now. Well. What are you talking about? Ant was not good in game 1. I didn't say that.
Oh, wait.
I thought Ant was. I thought Ant was great in game 1.
He was 8 of 22. He was fine.
He played. We talked about how disciplined he played, right. And he didn't force anything, and he moved the ball and played really well.
Well, okay. Well, technically, he had 25 points in this game, but there's no way if you watched it, you thought he played a good game.
No, none of the Wolves played well today.
Well, and by the way, We talked about Ant had 9 assists last game when he's facilitating, the Wolves tend to win. Guess how many assists he had tonight?
I don't have
I
to
would
guess.
guess
I
9
know.
based off saying that.
No. 0.
Oh, well, I didn't know. I thought he didn't have any, but the way you said that, I thought you might have been making a joke that he had a bunch. I mean, look, the Wolves,
They almost didn't have 9 as a team.
yeah, I mean, the Wolves came out from the beginning and looked like a team that was pretty content to be 1-1 in the series after 2. The Lakers, as the home team, down 0-1 in the series, predictably came out like an absolute house of fire. We're flying around on defense. We're being really physical. Minnesota was not ready for it. And then as the game went along, the Lakers were lucky they had a big lead because their offense completely short-circuited. Luka was trying to put Rudy in a highlight for the entire final 3 quarters of the game, and it kept messing up their offense. And I mean, Minnesota, every time they had a chance to get the game close, did something boneheaded and let the Lakers get the lead back up to 15 or 16.
They had a series of possessions in the fourth quarter when it was an 11-point game, or maybe even a 9-point game. And I guess the Lakers get credit because they were standing in the way. They had some.
It was a yakety sax
possession.
at both ends. The Lakers had a 2-on-1. Austin Reeves tried to throw an alley-oop to LeBron to the moon, and then they didn't even score, and then they came back down to turn the ball over. I mean, it was just like, it was crazy how bad it was.
LeBron, can you imagine what went through LeBron's head? It was a 2-on-1 break, and Austin Reeves threw a lob 13 feet in the air. Can you imagine what
13 might be underselling it. It felt like it was 23 feet in the air.
Can you imagine what went through LeBron's head? Like, what do you think? Who do you think I am?
I forgot when it was, but he threw him one of those not too long ago, and LeBron caught it and threw it down and basically said, dude, something along the lines of that took like 2 weeks off my career.
Well, LeBron looked old in the fourth quarter of this game, but he still did make some good defensive plays. But I don't know. It's hard to even analyze. I think the better thing is to just sort of forget this and look forward. I would just say, Mike Conley, who has looked old at various times this season, was horrendous in this game. He did have some assists for a team. Actually, he only had 1 assist. My God.
So one more point than he had.
They were barely getting shots off for the first quarter and a half of the game.
I think it's the worst game I've ever seen Mike Conley play.
It was bad.
Their bench, Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 3 of the guys who were big factors in their winning game 1, were all really poor. DiVincenzo and Naz Reid got into foul trouble immediately in the game. They just were totally taken out of their flow. I don't know. Here's what I would say. Going to Minnesota, you would have to assume that Ant Edwards is going to play a more efficient game. He is 18 of 44 so far shooting in this series. He is shooting, I think, under 30% on threes, or maybe he's just right at 30%. We know that's not who he is. And so I would say that Ant Edwards you would have to expect going back home that Ant Edwards is going to summon something in what is now going to be an extremely pivotal game 3.
And the others for the Wolves are probably going to play better too, right? Like their whole team was bad today. I mean, look, I came away from this. Luka's been awesome the first 2 games. That has been a really good thing for the Lakers. Like you said, LeBron still does not look great for a guy who had a bunch of time off, and there were 2 days off between these 2 games, and then there's 2 days off till game 3, and then every other game after that is every other day. I mean, I thought coming into the series, the Lakers absolutely had to be up 2-1 after 3 because you get into the every other day portion of the series. That favors Minnesota, the younger, deeper team. So obviously they had to win today to get it even up after going down 0-1. I think it's a must win on Friday too, with the 2 days off. Like, if they get that, I think they're going to feel pretty good about getting back home court and also being up going into the every other day. If they're down 2-1 and they got to win 3 out of 4, playing essentially 5 games in 8 days, 9 days, that's going to be a tough pill for them to swallow in the situation they're going to be in.
Well, Luka did try to go after, and especially in the second half, as you mentioned, Bontemps, he tried to go after Rudy Gobert a lot. Jackson gave us some stats here from our sports and information group. Gobert held the Lakers to 5 of 17 shooting as the primary defender tonight. So they didn't get far on that one.
And Luka, it looked like, I mean, I wasn't able to watch most of the game, just to be clear, but watched the fourth quarter. He looked tired. It looked like he wore himself out.
Well, Luka was into the officiating on this game was not something for the officiating was perfect for the way this game was played. The way
it was dreadful.
It was
it was dreadful.
When I say it was perfect, I mean it matched.
I know. I was just emphasizing that for people that didn't know.
There was like 11 reviews, and Luka was. It's actually a minor miracle Luka did not get a technical foul in this game.
Who's the ref crew? I got to know.
James Capers, Justin Van Dyne, and
Ben Taylor.
Ben Taylor.
Oh, might be all sub 6 footers. I know Capers claimed 6 foot on the nose. I don't believe
James Capers was not happy when you brought up he was when he was on our pod.
What's that tell you? That means he ain't really 6 feet.
Did you see this? Bozo the other day tweeted at the communications, the NBA PR account when they tweeted out the refs, and he said, "Is there a height chart with this? Like, what are we doing? Enough."
He has
for height listings.
He has staked this. He has staked this position.
It's absurd.
I think everybody would be best to just forget this game. But Luka, by the way,
I'm sure they won't talk about it on First Take at all. You on First Take tomorrow?
Yeah, I just sent in my notes on the game. They were rage notes. You know, JJ's rage timeout. They were the notes that I just sent to the producers right before we started. They were rage notes.
A bunch of all caps.
I was like, I hated this game. No, Luka did get tripped at one point by Jaden McDaniels. Like there was a basket made, and Jaden McDaniels pretty clearly clamped Luka's feet, and Luka hit the ground like a ton of bricks. And I'm actually kind of relieved he didn't get hurt, because I can't tell if he flopped to accentuate.
He definitely was flopping. He didn't get taken. He fell down like he got taken down. He felt somebody put his legs around his feet and said, "I'm going to fall down." And then he jumped up and sprinted over to Justin Van Dyne, and for some reason was not teed up for screaming at him for
a minute.
It was brutal.
All right. Anyway, the Lakers won because they had Luka. That's my takeaway.
No, you know why the Lakers won? Because defense wins championships. They held an 85, baby. How about that Lakers defense?
They once
Luka,
again,
key part, the Lakers juggernaut defense in this game.
Once again, that statement is proven correct. The Minnesota only shot 38%, 5 of 25 on threes. Jeez. They only had 14 assists as a team.
Yeah,
I will say, Julius Randle played pretty well. He had 27 points. He had 6 assists. He I guess was their best player, but he also had a bunch of possessions where he was just that bull in the china shop, just pounding.
He was their best player, but he only played a C+ game too.
I couldn't say it any better than that. So I don't know. I kind of feel like that's all I want to say about this. The Lakers are still alive, but they're going to have to play a lot better. And Bontemps, you said this before we came on air. If you were the Thunder and you were watching the Clippers Nuggets series, which we'll talk about later, and you were watching the Lakers Wolves series, you'd be like, wait a minute. How do we win 68 games and we're on the side of the bracket with those two teams, not the Lakers and Wolves?
They'll be playing the West Finals and the West semifinals. That's what I will say.
Okay, I want to talk about what went on Tuesday night in Indianapolis. Pacers won to go up 2-0 in the series. They have been clearly the better team. They shot the ball extremely well from long range in this game. They had 6 different guys scoring double figures. Pascal Siakam is just a real handful for the Bucks. He has dominated them throughout the season. He had another excellent game with 24 and 11. And you guys know how I feel about the Pacers. I feel they're a dangerous team who have been playing very well under the radar for the last 6 weeks. And they continue to build that momentum in this game. And they're in great shape in that series. But I just want to speak real quick about what's going on with the Bucks. Let me tell you what Giannis Antetokounmpo has done so far in this series. In game 1, He went 14 of 23 from the field with 12 rebounds, only had 1 assist, had a steal and 2 blocks, 36 points, 12 rebounds. In game 2 on Tuesday night, he goes 14 of 20 for 34 points, 18 rebounds, 7 assists. He is having a brilliant series, and his team is down 0-2 and hasn't been close in either game.
Yeah, this one they got it close down the stretch, but they had to come back to get it close.
This one is sort of competitive with Bobby Portis having the game of his life. Like, they are not.
But they were never going to win this game.
No, they were not on the same. They're not on the same level as the Pacers. It's really not close. They don't have the ability to guard the Pacers. It's like I talked about it going into the series. They can't guard the Pacers, and they can't keep up with the Pacers on offense. That's a really bad combination, to put it mildly, if you're trying to win 4 out of 7. And look, the Pacers can't stop Giannis. He's been an absolute wrecking ball, one-man wrecking ball through the first 2 games, but they're drawn dead otherwise. Like, Brook Lopez is their 3rd best player. They keep taking him off the court. Kyle Kuzma hit a couple shots in the 3rd quarter. He had another rough game. Doc closed with him. I'm not really sure why. Dame played 37 minutes, remarkably after not playing for 6 weeks, but he hit 1 shot down the stretch. I think his legs clearly caught up to him in the second half, understandably.
His lack of impact was not surprising.
Yeah. No, I mean, he gave him more than I expected in minutes and production. Like, he had 14 points. He had some assists. He moved the ball. He hit a couple shots late. Like, you couldn't have asked for more than that from him.
I agree.
But
yeah, Portis, by the way, 11 of 19, 6 of 11 from 3, 12 rebounds, 28 points.
Yeah, I mean, he was a monster. But look, in the final few minutes of the game, when the Bucks got back into it, the Pacers had 5 wide open threes in a row and missed 4 of them. Like, it's the only reason the game even got remotely close at the end. Like, the Bucks just have not shown any ability to guard them. And I mean, look, they shot 50% from the field and 40% from 3 in this game. And it was a double-digit game the whole game.
Yeah. Okay. It actually got down to 2, 115, 113.
That was when Dame hit the 3, I believe, from the top of the key.
No. Yes, the 30 footer that he hit. That's
he hit
correct.
A bomb from the top of the key and
so
got it down to 2.
Let me walk that back. I guess in that moment they had a shot, but
it still didn't feel like it though.
Siakam came back and hit a 3 to put it,
Well, and here's the deal, dude. Like, they had to rally to have a chance when Giannis is putting up a crazy efficient 34, 18, and 7.
And when Portis is putting up 28 on efficient shooting off the bench.
And like, it looks like the Bucks are about to get bounced in the first round again, this time with a healthy Giannis.
And Giannis has been just awesome this season. He's clearly understood that they're challenged, and he has cut the BS out of his game and cut the fat out of his game and tried doing everything he can to carry this team, and they're just not good enough. And what is he supposed to do? Like this is the elephant in the room in the league right now. They're all this team is losing tens of millions of dollars. They're out all their draft picks. Lopez and Portis are free agents. I think Dame's up for an extension. I don't know. I don't know what you do about that.
You don't extend them.
I agree, but fine. I don't.
They're in a tough spot.
What are we talking about here?
They won a title, so that's nice. But it's a bleak future, and like, what's Giannis supposed to do this summer? Like, he's seen this thing through, and he has a decision to make. Does he want to be a one franchise guy, or does he want to contend for championships while he's still in his prime? And whatever he chooses, it's his choice. Like, there's not a wrong answer. I wouldn't fault the guy either way, but that's the decision.
He also just went on his brother's podcast and said something along the lines of, I'm trying to find the quote, but he essentially said, I need to win another title, or I feel like my career won't be complete if I don't win another title. I'm trying to find this.
That's a pretty strong hint.
That's pretty strong, but he has said things like in that realm before. Like that's not like he hasn't broken new ground there, but it's fresh.
But in the times that he said that before, the Bucks were able to make moves to, Drew Holiday, boom. He signs the extension. Right after that, they win a title. Then he's getting, itchy again. Kind of push. They trade for Dame. He signs the extension. Now, the Dame thing obviously hasn't paid the dividends that the Bucks hoped it would. Frankly, that I thought it would. I was wrong on that. But it's like there's not. I don't think the Bucks have the ability to make that big splash kind of move again. To if he's itching, I don't think they have the assets to make the kind of move that would.
Well, they just don't. We don't have to say we think they don't. I also don't know if Giannis actually said that recently on the podcast. So stat on that. But look, the Bucks are who they are roster wise. That much is clear. And what they are roster wise is a team that's not one of the 4 best teams in the East, and they don't look that close to the 3rd or 4th best team in the East.
They're not a top 10 team in the league.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, when you put it like that, I'm trying to think about that, and I would be like, yeah, I think that's right.
I mean, they're not one of the 4 best teams in the East, and the East ain't nearly as good as the West. So, wherever they're at, they're not close to being at the level that you would expect them to be at.
They're not getting. I don't see how they possibly get better. They're gonna have to. They'd have. I'm not sure even if they wanted to, they could bring this. Even if this team was a championship team, I don't think it could bring this team back.
Well, look, here's the other thing. Right? They've been an expensive team for a long time. And if you lose in the first round for a 3rd straight year, are you going to be expected to pay the tax? I would assume no. Brook Lopez is a free agent this summer. It's an expensive team. Like if you're going to try to be under the tax and bring this group back, that's going to be hard to do. It's not impossible, but it's hard. So, you're already looking at trying to dance that.
I mean, let's just be honest with you would be in the second apron because of Giannis. You can't be a second apron team with this roster. You just can't. It's not responsible. And so if you're going to get out of the second apron, you're going to lose a key piece. So you're just inherently going to get farther away. Like this is just this comes down to arithmetic right now.
Well, it's not even about being in the second apron. So like they're not going to be that high, but it's about being in the tax at all. And again, like this ownership group in a small market over the past several years has spent a ton of tax money. Like they have gone for it. No one has told me this, but I would educatedly guess that they have over the last 3 years, they've lost over $100 million. Yeah. I mean, I don't know the numbers, but they've spent a ton. They've maxed out. They've traded stuff away. They've done what you could hope to do if you're a fan trying to compete, but they're now at the point where you got to start paying the bills. And yeah, like it's just hard to see, like you said, MacMahon, it's hard to see what the move is that gets them from where they are right now to good enough to beat Indiana, let alone good enough to beat Boston.
When they don't have any control of their 1st round pick until 2031.
Right.
I don't think they even got a 2nd round pick until 2031.
They have one, I think, of each over the next 7 years.
Oh my God.
I mean, listen, they've burned everything they have to try to build another contender or another championship team around Giannis, and they're not close right now.
Yeah, and when they started the contention run, Giannis was like 23, and now he's 30. And they were in it for 7 years, and probably 4 of those years they had teams that were good enough to win the title. And they won 1, which is a hell of a lot better than winning none.
Hey, Jackson actually did some producing, and he found that quote, Giannis on his brother's pod. Me not having a 2nd championship, I look back at my career and everybody can say, oh, incredible career, active Hall of Famer, 1st ballot, whatever. But me, my personal goal, if I'm not able to help my team win a 2nd ring, I'm letting down myself. I really want to win a 2nd one.
Yeah, well, if he wants to win a 2nd one, it's hard to see the path to doing it in Milwaukee. In the last couple of years, you could point to injuries. And yes, the Dame thing was unfortunate, but Dame is now back, and Dame isn't solving the defense problems that they have. And
I don't think Dame at this point is giving them more than he's given them. Maybe I could be wrong, but
right. It's hard to see this team being better than what it is, which has been a great run, like you said, but they're going to have some real decisions to make this summer, both they and Giannis.
So he has 2 years left on his contract, and then a player option. Now, let me just say, I am on the record several times as not thinking that the Kevin Durant market is going to be what the Suns think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because not that there's not going to be teams who want him. I think there's going to be a lot of teams who want him. I just think that the alignment that you're going to need of a team that has a package that the Suns are going to want, a team where Durant is going to want to play, and a team. Go on.
No, and a team that's going to be willing to give Kevin Durant a ton of money. I was saying and because I knew what you were going to say next. I said yeah.
So those.
Although I wouldn't be certain it's got to be the full blown max.
Nonetheless,
we'll see.
My big thing on Durant is
ton of money for a 37-year-old guy who misses a lot of time with injuries. It's hard to do.
My thing on Durant is it's possible this ends up being a team renting him. I'm not saying that's what's likely. I'm saying that that's possible. Okay. And we'll talk about Durant ad nauseum for months. Giannis, on the other hand, I think you can get a gigantic haul for.
I mean, he's 30, so he's got plenty of prime.
30.
This is a really bold take, MacMahon. you could get a haul for a top 5 player in the world who's
there are many people who are maybe casual observers of the NBA who would think that Durant and Giannis would be comparable in the trades, and I would say no.
Sure,
I would say. And it might even hurt if Giannis comes to market. It might even hurt the Suns because teams
it unquestionably hurts their leverage. There's no question about that because he's not the best player available. And so if whatever the best package that's traded is, it's going to be for Giannis. If Giannis, again, we're getting a little bit ahead, but
I realize we're getting ahead, but I don't know what this is what people in the league are talking about as they're watching this series.
For sure.
And the other thing I'll say is from talking to people in and around Milwaukee, Giannis has given no indication throughout this entire season that he is not 100% focused on maximizing what the Bucks have. This is people in the league looking at the lay of the land, not, anything that Giannis has said to anybody.
Well, and like you said, what do we say all the time? Actions over words, right? Giannis's actions are he's been flat out balling for months and dragging these guys along, carrying them down the stretch without Dame. He's been incredible all season.
All right. So look, to be continued, the Bucks get to go home. They can look at you in the eye and say, the Pacers did what they were supposed to, won the 2 home games, but I have talked about the teams in the West not being adequately, properly seeded because their quality and their talent doesn't match their seed. In this case, Milwaukee's not playing like a 5 seed right now. Maybe they'll look different next week or later this week, I guess. We're in a new week. We'll see. Guys, as disappointed as I was in the display at the end of Lakers, Minnesota, I was wide awake on Monday night watching the end of the Clippers and the Nuggets.
Streetlight versus spotlight, baby. Those streetlights look good right now.
Let me tell you something. Number 2 for the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard. This is what the dreams were made of back in 2019.
He is moving well. He is springy. And I mean, dude, 39 points and only missed 4 shots from the floor as a wing player. Are you kidding me?
Incredible.
And there were times where Aaron Gordon had really good position and good contests. And Kawhi's like, I'm getting to that spot right there. And I'm rising up above you. And the ball, when Kobe used to shoot the ball went in the net. He had this certain way that the ball would sort of hit the back of the net. I almost think you could just show me the net and I could see the ball go through, and that was like a Kobe shot. Because Kawhi has the ability to elevate and get his arms way up there, he shoots at this angle, and you almost, when the ball goes through the net and Kawhi's feeling good, there's this special Kawhi angle that it goes through the net in. That's what was happening.
Yeah, it goes in sideways.
Yes, because he shoots almost line drives, but it's so calibrated, which is probably why when he's not at his best, you really notice it, but he is at his best right now. And the defensive end, I think the numbers from SIG said that the Nuggets were 2 of 12 with he was a primary defender.
Well, like between him and Zubac and Chris Dunn.
Also, Derek Jones, like throw a lazy pass to Derek Jones' side of the floor and see what happens.
Yep. No, I mean, the Clippers are playing fantastic ball.
I'll tell you this: if you're a franchise that wants to build around defense, Derek Jones is a good guy to have on your roster. You want to keep him.
I mean, MacMahon is truly on an elite run right now. He is on an elite run.
He's a good defensive player. It's all
he's
I'm
a dog.
saying.
He's
really
helping. He's a dog with a bone in his mouth, and it's going to be there for a long time.
I don't think it'll be there that long. I don't think it'll be there that long, buddy.
That bone has 4 letters on it. It starts with N. Okay. The Nuggets have a couple of problems. One problem is that Kawhi looks like it's 2019. Another problem is that Michael Porter, who is an extremely important player for them because he's a variance player. And when he hits his threes, it really elevates their offense because they're a bad 3-point shooting team. Also, they're a thin team. And so anybody who is affected by any sort of injury in their top 5, it's a red light. He sprained his shoulder. Had to come out of the game when the game was on the line.
Yeah, he got landed on late in the game and was immediately grabbing at his arm.
And by the way, he said, I sprained my shoulder. So that's not good. I'm not an orthopedist, but that's not good. And they're going to LA now. And Jokic has been, fine, like his standards, but he was not great in game 2. Like he put up good numbers, but he had turnovers. He missed some shots.
Well, Zubac played incredibly well defensively. I mean, Jokic is always going to put up huge numbers, but I mean, he was as uncomfortable as he's going to look going up against him.
So, I mean, I have huge respect for the Nuggets. But here's the thing. Just get the bottom line. And Westbrook played a lot fewer minutes in game 2 than he did in game 1. If you have Russell Westbrook, whatever you are on the Russell Westbrook spectrum of love-hate, you want to have the option of Russell Westbrook. You don't want to have to play Russell Westbrook. If you have to play Russell Westbrook, you're going to have trouble. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody
they're cooked. They're cooked if they have to play.
Here's the problem. There's no such thing as the option of Russell Westbrook, because if he's not playing, you're going to...
Well, but Brian's point is
a presence there that's not necessarily positive.
Sure, but Brian's point is in game 2 he played 23 minutes. If Michael Porter's not available, he's playing 40. And if he's playing 40, the bad is going to outweigh the good, and you're going to lose. Especially in a series like this, which is at minimum conference semifinal series. This is not a first round series.
Oh my God,
this is already
I've seen some conference finals that don't have me as excited as this.
Yeah, I mean this is a titanic showdown, and a guy like Russ, yes, he made the big plays at the end of the game in game 1 and helped them pull it out. But again, to go back to the tweet from the other day, it's the Mario Kart item box, and the item box is going to come up with a lot more banana peels than stars if you have them out there for 40 minutes.
If the Clippers thought Russell Westbrook was a guy you wanted on a contending team, they wouldn't have traded him after he opted into his contract.
There you go.
Russell Westbrook has been traded to the Jazz twice and cut by the Jazz twice in 3 years. I mean, that's the answer to a trivia question. So look, Jokic has the ability to do some special things. Harden has the ability. I was doing some research on James Harden, and I came across a story that somebody wrote a couple years ago. It was titled "The 15 Worst Playoff Games of James Harden's Career."
Oh no!
It's like we talked about the other day, though. The Nuggets don't really have anybody to guard him. There's not a good matchup for him in this series. Like he wasn't as good in game 2, but he had another good game in game 2.
Right, but I'm just saying a Harden stinker is on the table just because it happens.
Sure.
I point something else out. This is James Harden's 16th season. It's the 16th time he's been in the playoffs.
Yep.
He's had a lot of good playoff games too, but he clearly understood that Kawhi was cooking, and he was just feeding the ball. It was really just isolation basketball. They were just giving him the ball, and he has this ability to take 2 steps and get open. Like
once again, though, too, 50 to 32 on the boards, 15 offensive rebounds for Denver. That is going to be something to really monitor.
Denver had 20 turnovers too. Like they've got to squeeze down that possession game.
Well, and Joker had 7. That's I don't think that's going to happen again. Joker had like a weird, like late in the game, there was that weird like panic shot where the shot clock wasn't even ticking down. Like it was just, there's some
weird game
stuff. Missed a couple of free throws on one trip.
And by the way, Porter had 15 and 15 in this game and had 6 offensive rebounds. Like, he's not a perfect player. He's probably making more than he should be in terms of trying to have an efficient cap sheet, but he's still a good player who is proven to have big moments for Denver. And if he's not able to go, like you said, Brian, this is already the worst 3-point shooting team in the league. You take him out of the lineup, man, like you're really going to be struggling to score.
It is his left shoulder. So I think it's his left shoulder. So, at least not his shooting shoulder, but
right. But still, it's not great.
All right. Thursday night, game 3, be there. Okay. In New York.
Now I got to watch freaking OKC in Memphis.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be done after 4, and I'm going to encourage our bosses. Send MacMahon to that series.
I think MacMahon to Denver. Stat.
I've publicly promised Cervasa's and Snuggle in the IT department. She's excited about that. She listened. She got, just a little titillated there.
Oh my God, it's getting late. All right. In New York, Bontemps.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson has taken 27 shots in both games 1 and game 2. In game 2, Karl Towns, who was on my All-NBA team.
Mine too.
Took 11 shots in a game where the Knicks scored 94 points. OG Anunoby, who just had the best offensive season of his career and was averaging, I believe, 16 or 17 shots when Jalen was out. He's not out anymore. I get it, but he took 10 shots. The Knicks' entire offense in the second half of that game felt like give the ball to Jalen and have him try to draw a foul. However, he would do that. And Cade Cunningham ain't afraid of the moment.
Oh, no.
He ain't looking to draw fouls. He's looking for blood. Or he dishes it out. Yeah. So I'm just going to say, while I still think the Knicks are okay and they can win this series, they could not play the way they played in game 1 and 2. And get it. Frankly, let's be honest.
Oh, no. Listen, Tibbs blamed the refs. The refs.
Well, listen, they should be down 0-2 in the series. They're lucky it's 1-1. They almost got away with it and we're up 2-0. But watching this game, too, in particular, I went back and watched the game again afterward because I wanted to really look at it. And every shot the Knicks took the whole game was hard. Like, they just don't get easy shots ever. And I have to admit, watching the game and seeing JB Bickerstaff standing on the other sideline made me think a lot about Cavs corner and about the way the Cavs looked last year and the way the Cavs look this year. And I'm just saying it's something to think about, that the way Tom has always had his teams operate offensively, which is basically have a guy like Jalen with the ball and he's going to orchestrate and set things up. What? Why are you making faces like that?
Go on. Just finish your thought, then I'm going to rip you.
Okay. I mean, he's typically always had a lot of times a smaller guard and has had a lot of success with smaller guards, creating pretty efficient offense over time.
John Lucas III. Shout out.
Nate Robinson won a playoff series against the Nets with Nate Robinson. I mean,
7 games.
DJ Augustine put up numbers for Tibbs.
Yes. I mean, Tibbs knows how to win basketball games, but you watch this game in the second half, and in particular, but even throughout the whole game, the Knicks shouldn't be having this much trouble getting clean looks against this Pistons team. Like, this isn't the Celtics. This isn't the Thunder defense. I mean, right. Like, this is a good team. JB Bickerstaff's a good defensive coach. Like, but they were in cement the whole game. And it was like that in game 1 too. At least in game 1, you could say that the Pistons shot the lights out in the first 3 quarters, and Tobias Harris wasn't going to score 22 points and a half, and they weren't going to go 60% from 3. In that game 2, the Pistons didn't play well. The Pistons couldn't hit a shot, and they still won the game. So I got a lot of concerns about where the Knicks are at. I did not think the series would be that competitive. I'm frankly shocked with how the first 2 games have gone. And the offensive stuff is very problematic, and I think it's got to change in a hurry. And I did not think it was the best look for Tom to come in after the game and start yelling about the free throw disparity in the game. That was not the reason the Knicks lost the game.
All the headlines were his rant, but that was just, I mean, I'm not saying he didn't have a point or two, but it's just bad look to complain about officiating when Brunson is just
foul hunting everywhere.
Prime hardened foul hunting.
You know, it's a bad look. It's a bad look to take a little swipe at Just Business Bickerstaff, just blindsided Bickerstaff now. The man just broke. How long was that Pistons playoff win drought? Like 15 years or something like that?
2008, I think.
Who's taking a swipe at him?
You did. You said the
Cavs
offense stunk last year, and seeing JB reminded you of that.
Have the Cavs not leveled up multiple times on offense this year?
Okay. That's
all I'm just saying. The Cavs went from like 15th to 1st without changing personnel.
I mean, JB's a very good coach.
Well, also,
he's done a great job this year.
Broken jaw last year.
I know. And then Ty Jerome hadn't elevated to God status.
Ty Jerome, baby. Hey, remember going in this series, I said, are we sure Jalen Brunson's the best player in the series? He hasn't been so far. And listen, I'm a Brunson guy, but I'm just saying, Cade Cunningham has been the best player clearly so far this series. That has to change if the Knicks are going to avoid an upset.
I mean, Cade was not good in game 1. I mean, he was great in game 2. He was great in game 2, but he did not have a good game 1. But look, the Pistons, to again talk about JB, a couple years ago when the Cavs showed up, right? They came to the Garden, young and experienced team coming to the Garden. They were completely overwhelmed and looked it. The Pistons have not been overwhelmed at all. And other than that brief stretch in the fourth quarter of game 1, they have more than acquitted themselves in a hostile road environment and against a team that's won a bunch of playoff games. And I've been super impressed with the way they handle things, especially with Isaiah Stewart, a really good defensive big, not even playing in game 2 because of a knee issue. Like, I thought that was going to be a huge problem for the Pistons. It didn't matter at all.
Okay, let me ask this. Cat getting barely any shots in the second half obviously is a problem. It's also something that's happened with Cat repeatedly over the course of his playoff career, going all the way back to his first series when I thought him and Tibbs were going to passive-aggressively murder each other.
Yeah.
Who do we blame for Cat just being a complete non-factor in the second half? Just not even completely uninvolved.
Everybody. It's everybody's fault. This is the same thing as Celtics Sixers.
It's Brunson's fault too.
Yes, it's the same thing as Celtics Sixers game 6. The final 6 minutes of that game in 2022, when Joel, I think, either had one shot or one touch in the final 6 minutes, and they blew that series at home. Right after that game, I said it was Joel's fault, James Harden's fault, and Doc's fault because the combination of those guys didn't get Joel the ball. Right. This is the same thing. Jalen was pounding the ball way too much. Every time Mikal Bridges touched the ball in the second half, it was out of his hand in a shot in 0.3 seconds. Well, there was no attempt to pass the ball.
And then 0.2 of that was a hitch going up to his release.
Right. But there is no thought of passing, right? The Knicks in general are not a very good passing team. They're not a natural ball movement team to begin with. Jalen is not a like Steve Nash kind of point guard or Tyrese Halliburton kind of point guard. Cat can make really good passes. He's not an instinctual passer. OG and Mikal are not really. Josh Hart moves the ball well, but again, it's not like they're not really going to be a good ball movement team in general, but there was way too much iso ball. There was way too much foul hunting. Cat was not aggressive enough. They didn't try to force him the ball with Tobias Harris on him. Like, it was a group effort that had him with 12 shots. But ultimately, it was too much Jalen, and it was too much just isolation, ramming your heads into the wall over and over again. And this team has too much talent to just not be getting decent open looks on offense.
Look, the Pistons won a game on the road, first playoff game in decades. And Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. went 1 of 14 on threes.
Wow.
They were 6 for 27 as a team and won the game.
Now, Dennis Schroeder had one of his Schroeder things where he does crazy stuff every now and then. But
also, Brunson had and he admitted this without even being asked about it. Brunson had a bad defensive bust that let Schroeder walk into a big time clutch 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Game 3, Thursday night, Little Caesars Arena. Has LCA ever hosted a playoff game?
Yes, I think the Blake year was. I thought that was Little Caesars with later, but yeah, the first year they were
hasn't
there.
Been many.
Yeah, 2018-19, they played games there.
All right, well,
played the Bucks in the first round.
Guys, we've been focused on playoff basketball. We haven't talked about some of the transactions, and I'm not talking about players. I'm not talking about coaches.
Ooh.
The guys who do the transactions, we've had an unusually high turnover in front office firings in the last 7 to 10 days. Most recently, a relatively surprising move for the Atlanta Hawks to fire general manager Landry Fields after less than 3 years on the job. The thing about it was the previous regime did the DeJounte Murray trade. Was it only 2 years? Anyway, the previous regime did the DeJounte Murray trade, which was a disaster trade. And basically, Travis Schlenk, who was the GM at the time, essentially put out a press release. I didn't do this trade. It was done by ownership. And he exits stage right. Landry Fields comes in and has been trying to clean up that situation, including trading DeJounte Murray. Trading.
A good trade.
Yes, very good as it turned out. Getting off some long-term money by trading away DeAndre Hunter, although Hunter has been great in Cleveland. Developing some young guys. And this felt like sort of the middle of a project. Obviously, the Hawks aren't great. They didn't make the playoffs. Felt like the middle of a project, and he gets fired.
Yeah, and there were obviously rumblings about that for last couple months or whatever, but
not really loud. Like maybe I didn't think. I thought he had a year left at least, and so
yeah.
I was kind of surprised.
It's interesting because they do have they put together a nice young core.
Well, look, the big thing with Atlanta, not to jump on you, sorry.
Go ahead.
Trae Young is extension eligible.
He's also trade eligible.
So
he's got forget the extension. He's got 1 guaranteed year left on his contract, and then he's got a player option. And if you go to the release that the Hawks put out, which by the way included Ansi Sala getting promoted to general manager in the interim, or not in the interim, he's promoted to general manager, and they've said they're going to look for a president of basketball operations.
Ansi Sala is one of the bright young executives in the league. It is not surprising he became a general manager. He came over to the Hawks from the Warriors, where he had an excellent reputation, and he was sort of blocked there. The Warriors have sort of they have a good front office, and he probably, if he was another team, might have gone up further. But anyway,
yeah, he showed up this time last year, and a lot of smart things have gone on over the last year.
So Ansi Sala getting the job, but he didn't really get the job. He was named general manager, and then Tony Ressler said in the press release that the Hawks said it's essentially Tony Ressler, the owner. He said he's going to hire somebody over the top of him, which is unusual. If you name a guy general manager and then say that you're going to hire a boss over him who didn't hire him, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But either way, they got to figure out something to do with Trae.
Well, yes. And part of the statement from Tony Ressler in here said, as we enter this pivotal offseason, we have several complex decisions ahead of us, and we are committed to providing the human and financial resources to ensure that we navigate these decisions with a high level of precision and foresight. Forget the second part of that. We have several complex decisions ahead of us. The main complex decision is, what do you do with Trae Young, which is a fascinating question that gets to sort of the heart of team building in the new collective bargaining agreement era. And how much do you pay, and how long do you pay a guy like Trae Young, who is a very, very good player, but also has pronounced flaws that are going to limit the ceiling of your team.
Okay, so that's the Hawks. More to come on that later.
Okay.
Also, Tuesday, Joe Dumars, Hall of Famer, introduced as the new president in New Orleans. Non-committal was what I would say about his comments on Zion Williamson and Willie Green. I mean, Willie Green is going to remain the coach.
Let's set Willie Green aside.
Okay.
The question there is the same question we just talked about with Atlanta. What's going to happen with Zion Williamson? And as you said, the answer from Joe Dumars was not, we're all in on Zion Williamson. It wasn't, we're trading him, but it wasn't, we're all in on him, which says all you need to know, I think, about the situation.
You read between the lines. They're at least going to explore the market. I think.
Well, that's my point. He didn't say Zion's our guy. He didn't say he's not, but he didn't say he is.
I think you might be surprised by the market for Zion in a positive way.
Well, first off, let me say my favorite quote of the day from Joe Dumars. Because, Joe Dumars has just come from the NBA league office where he was director of operations, but he was the discipline czar. Okay.
Well, we should talk about that for a minute too, but go and do this first.
Quote, at the league office, I've had to talk to Zion a few times.
Well, that is certainly true.
Well, that's probably not going to pump up his trade value, but when Zion got on the floor this year, he did his part, and then they were tanking down the stretch. So, the fact he didn't play down the stretch, I don't think deflates his trade value anymore.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what his value is. But the league office part of this is interesting because Joe Dumars, as you said, was the VP of basketball operations for the league and was involved in all sorts of, any of the stuff you heard about the All-Star game, the play-in tournament, all the kind of the competition committee stuff we talk about, certainly the discipline stuff. He's involved in all that kind of stuff. It took him a while to hire Joe Dumars the last time. It will be interesting to see who they replace him with. And him leaving at the start of the playoffs puts the NBA league office in a bit of an interesting spot. Now, they've got Byron Spruell, they've got Evan Wash, they've got Tim Cook, they've got a bunch of people who are going to be involved in picking up the various parts of Joe's job while he's not there. But it will be interesting to see what that looks like because people don't think about that job necessarily when they think about important roles within the league. But that job is a very important job in terms of a lot of stuff that happens within the league. And Joe Dumars leaving it creates a vacuum. It'll be interesting to see how it's filled.
In terms of what happens between the four lines, the person in that job is more important than Adam Silver.
So who's responsible for the ant fine levy?
That was Joe's last thing. Right as he closed his office, he fined.
I missed the.
By the way, as a quick aside, Ant Edwards got fined for referencing his manhood to a fan in LA after game one. But that wasn't my favorite part of the situation.
Your favorite part, so to speak? Go on.
Yeah, clearly. It was that Ant started that defending Rudy Gobert. Some guy was trash talking Rudy Gobert, which happens quite often, even by NBA players. And Ant was saying, this guy's made $200 million. He's a $200 million player. And Rudy steps in and says, no. And he uses the European three. He's like, no, 300 million. So, excuse me, Ant, not 200 million, 300 million.
Just an all-time line.
And Ant's like, I'm sorry, you're correct. 300 million, sir. Yeah, I don't know who issued that fine, but Ant has been fined 7 times this year. I will say one more thing before I move on from Dumars. Gail Benson, the owner of the New Orleans Pelicans, had this quote, and maybe it's cursory, maybe it doesn't mean anything, maybe it's something you say at a press conference for a president, but I think I should mention it. Quote, he has my full support to make any decision he deems necessary. So he had good things to say about Willie Green, but didn't announce he was giving him a 5-year contract extension. Did not announce he was giving him a 5-year contract.
No offense to Willie Green. That's not the relevant thing. The relevant thing is what's going to happen with Zion Williamson. And like you said, MacMahon, what was clear out of today is that the Pelicans are not all in on Zion Williamson. So take that as you will.
And honestly, I don't think Zion's all in on the Pelicans. I think Zion would not mind a change of scenery.
There was a report last week, or multiple reports, whatever, that Dumars had some sort of mandate to trade Zion, and he shot that down.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't say, I will not trade him.
That's right.
Okay, there might be some more front office stuff to talk about, but
we should at least just mention the one other one that's happened, which is Scott Perry taking over in Sacramento, since there's only one other one.
Our former teammate at ESPN, Scott Perry, has been rehired by the Kings. He was with the Kings for a few months, like 7 or 8 years ago. In both cases of Sacramento and New Orleans, there were veteran executives hired that had connections to the front office. And if there was a search, it was not apparent and it was truncated.
Well, if it was, it lasted for about 2 hours in each case.
Right.
Hey, truncated is a great word.
So look, Scott Perry is, and the funny thing is Scott Perry and Joe Dumars were contemporaries with the Pistons back when they were at their height. So I think Scott Perry was going to go with Joe Dumars to New Orleans if he didn't get the Sac job. So everything from 2008 is new again. The Pistons are winning playoff games, and Joe Dumars and Scott Perry are back at the helms of teams. So we will judge them on their actions, not their words. Scott Perry, we'll have maybe more to say. Scott Perry is going to be, I think, giving his press conference Wednesday, I think. So, okay, guys, it's just about 2 a.m. on the East Coast.
Oh,
it's the first week of the NBA playoffs. Oh. I have covered one playoff game thus far. And here it is, 2 a.m. And at 6 a.m., Mike Greenberg is expecting me to be on the Zoom call to get ready for Get Up. So with that in mind, I would like to thank Jackson, our producer, thank Bontemps and MacMahon, and thank you for watching Listen to Hoop Collective. And I am going to sleep.
Bontemps is sleeping like a baby. I'm going to sleep in tomorrow morning. Snore right on through. Get up. No offense. Adios, amigos.